Kevin Turner stood at his office window in Facebook's Menlo Park headquarters, staring at the setting California sun. The orange glow painted the sky in hues that reminded him of the day he first met Jessica. That was 7 years ago, before his stock options were worth millions, before they bought their dream house in Palo Alto, before everything started falling apart. His phone buzzed with another message from Jessica. "Working late again, don't wait up." The fourth time this week. He glanced at his Apple Watch, 7:45 p.m. The engineering floor was nearly empty. Most of his colleagues had left hours ago. Kevin ran his fingers through his carefully styled hair, a habit he'd picked up during stressful debugging sessions. Something wasn't right with Jessica, hadn't been for months. The signs were subtle at first: missed dinner dates, sudden work emergencies, mysterious phone calls. He tried to convince himself it was just the pressure of her new position as marketing director at Google. Silicon Valley demanded everything from its elite. But deep down, he knew there was more to it. His cursor hovered over her contact photo, debating whether to call. Instead, he opened their shared location on Find My iPhone. Her dot blinked in Mountain View, but not at the Google campus. Kevin's throat tightened. He zoomed in. She was at some residential address off El Camino Real. A quick search revealed it was a luxury apartment complex. His hands trembled as he took a screenshot. The cleaning staff's vacuum hummed in the distance as Kevin packed up his MacBook Pro. The drive home in his Tesla Model S felt longer than usual, each autonomous lane change giving him more time to think, more time to imagine. Their two-story craftsman-style house was dark when he pulled into the driveway. The gardener had trimmed the pristine lawn that afternoon, but Kevin barely noticed the fresh-cut grass smell he usually loved. Inside, he poured himself 2 fingers of Japanese whiskey and sat in the dark. The house felt empty, despite the carefully curated West Elm furniture and original artwork. His phone lit up with another message, this time from a colleague. "Hey man, saw your wife at Madeira tonight. She was with some VC guy? Ryan something." Kevin's heart stopped. Ryan. The name had been appearing with increasing frequency in Jessica's conversations. A mentor, she called him, someone helping her navigate the tech world's complex politics. The whiskey burned his throat as he downed it in one gulp. 2 hours and 3 drinks later, headlights swept across the living room walls. Jessica's Porsche Cayenne purred to a stop in the driveway. Kevin heard her heels on the slate path, then the electronic beep of the front door lock. "You're still up?" she asked, surprise and something else, anxiety, in her voice. "Hard to sleep when your wife's having dinner with strange men," Kevin replied, not looking at her. Jessica froze in the foyer, her Hermes bag sliding off her S. "Hold her. What are you talking about?" "Ryan. At Madeira. Want to tell me what that was about?" Her laugh was practiced, casual. "Oh, that was just a work thing. Ryan's helping me with my Series A pitch." "You work for Google, Jess. You don't need series of funding." The silence stretched between them like a chasm. "It's not what you think," she finally said, her voice soft. "Then what is it?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my wife is lying to me." Jessica moved into the living room, perching on the edge of their $5,000 designer sofa. "Ryan's complicated, uncomplicated for me." She took a deep breath, smoothing her Saint Laurent skirt. "He's been mentoring me, yes, but it's evolved into something more." Kevin's grip tightened on his whiskey glass. "More. We've been seeing each other. Intimately." The words hit him like a physical blow. "How long?" 3 months. Kevin stood abruptly, the whiskey glass falling to the hardwood floor. It didn't break. They'd paid extra for the shatterproof crystal. 3 months? "You've been cheating on me for 3 months?" Jessica's eyes flashed. "It's not cheating, Kevin. Not in the traditional sense. Please, explain how sleeping with another man isn't cheating. Because I want you to be part of it." The words hung in the air between them. Kevin stared at his wife, wondering if he'd had too much to drink. What? Ryan and we've talked about this. About including me in your affair? Jessica stood, moving closer to him. It's not an affair. It's an arrangement. Something different. Something exciting. Kevin backed away, his head spinning. You've lost your mind. No, I've found myself, Jessica replied, her voice stronger now. This is Silicon Valley, Kevin. The old rules don't apply here. She reached for him, but he jerked away. The old rules? You mean like fidelity? Trust? Basic human decency? Don't be dramatic. Half the executives in the valley have similar arrangements. Kevin laughed, a harsh sound. So that makes it okay? Because some tech brothers decided monogamy is outdated. Ryan wants to meet you, Jessica pressed on. He thinks you'll understand once you see how it works. How it works? How you two humiliate me. Jessica's expression hardened. No one's trying to humiliate you. We want to include you, to share this with you. Share what exactly? The experience, the freedom, the recordings. Kevin's blood ran cold. The what? We record our sessions. For privacy, for protection, and for pleasure. The room seemed to tilt on its axis. You've been recording yourself with him? Jessica nodded, a slight smile playing at her lips. Would you like to see? Kevin felt sick. No, I don't want to see my wife cheating on me in HD. It's not cheating if you're involved, she insisted. And how exactly am I supposed to be involved? You could watch. Film us. Join if you want. Kevin stared at this stranger wearing his wife's face. This is insane. You're insane. This is evolution, Kevin. The future of relationships. He grabbed his keys from the counter. Where are you going? Jessica asked, panic finally creeping into her voice. Out. Away. Anywhere but here. Please just think about it. Talk to Ryan. He can explain better than I can. Kevin paused at the door. There's nothing to explain. You broke our vows, Jessica. You broke us. No, I'm trying to make us stronger. Different, but stronger. He shook his head and walked out into the night. The Tesla's autopilot took him to a nearby bar, Rosewoods. The place was almost empty, just a few other lost souls seeking solace in expensive drinks. Kevin ordered another Japanese whiskey and pulled out his phone. Jessica had sent several messages. Please come home. We can talk about this. Ryan wants to meet tomorrow. Just talk. Please. He turned off his phone and signaled for another drink. A woman sat down 2 seats away, ordered a gin and tonic. She looked vaguely familiar. Kevin? Kevin Turner. He looked up, squinting slightly. Sarah? From the API team. She smiled, moving to the seat next to him. Small Valley. Rough night. Kevin laughed humorlessly. You could say that. Want to talk about it? He studied her face. Open, genuine, concerned. Not really. Want to not talk about it together? For the first time that night, Kevin felt his shoulders relax slightly. Yeah, that sounds good. They sat in comfortable silence, the bar's soft jazz providing a soothing backdrop. Sarah didn't push, didn't pry. She just sat with him, a quiet presence in the storm. After his third whiskey, Kevin broke the silence. My wife's having an affair. Sarah's expression shifted to one of genuine sympathy. I'm so sorry, Kevin. That's not even the worst part. What could be worse? He shook his head. She wants me to watch, to film it, to be part of it. Sarah's eyes widened. Oh, yeah. What are you going to do? Kevin stared into his glass. I don't know. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, it's all falling apart. Sarah touched his arm gently. You don't have to decide anything tonight. He looked at her hand on his arm, felt its warmth. No, I suppose I don't. They talked until the bar closed about nothing and everything. Work, life, the absurdity of Silicon Valley culture. Sarah made him laugh. Something he didn't think possible tonight. In the parking lot, She handed him her card. "If you need a friend, or just someone to not talk with." Kevin took it, their fingers brushing. "Thanks, Sarah." He sat in his Tesla for a long time before heading home. The house was dark when he returned. Jessica's Porsche was gone. A note sat on the kitchen counter. "Staying at Ryan's. When you're ready to talk, we'll be waiting." Kevin crumpled the note and threw it away. He climbed the stairs to their bedroom, each step feeling like a mile. The bedroom was immaculate, everything in its place, except for Jessica's eye to the closet. Several designer outfits were missing. He lay on the king-size bed, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Jessica, this time with a video attachment. His thumb hovered over it for a moment before he deleted it. Sleep didn't come. Instead, Kevin spent the night replaying every moment of their marriage, looking for signs he must have missed, warning flags he'd ignored. The sun was rising when his phone buzzed again. A text from Sarah. "Coffee? I know a place where no one from tech ever goes." Kevin smiled despite himself. "Sounds perfect." He showered and changed, avoiding looking at Jessica's empty side of the bathroom counter. The morning fog was thick as he drove to the small cafe Sarah had suggested. It was in a residential neighborhood, far from the startup crowds and venture capitalists. Sarah was already there, 2 cups of coffee on the table. "You look like hell," she said with a gentle smile. "Feel like it too." Any word from Jessica? Kevin took a sip of coffee. It was perfect, exactly how he liked it. She spent the night at his place. Sarah's expression darkened. "I'm sorry, that's rough." She wants me to meet him, to talk. "Are you going to?" Kevin stared into his coffee. "I don't know. Part of me wants to understand why, how she could do this. And the other part wants to pretend none of this is happening." Sarah reached across the table, squeezed his hand. "Whatever you decide, I'm here if you need support." The warmth of her hand anchored him, kept him from drowning in the chaos of his thoughts. "Thanks, Sarah. That means a lot." They spent the morning talking, the fog slowly burning away outside. Sarah shared stories about her own failed marriage, her ex-husband's addiction to startup culture. Kevin felt less alone, less lost. When his phone buzzed with another message from Jessica, he ignored it. Right now, in this moment, he needed peace. The chaos would still be there when he was ready to face it. But for now, with Sarah's quiet understanding and the smell of coffee in the air, he could breathe. He could think. He could begin to imagine a life different from the one he'd planned. A life that might not include Jessica at all. Kevin spent the next week sleeping in the Four Seasons Palo Alto. The luxury hotel was a favorite among visiting tech executives, but he barely noticed the amenities. His corporate car could handle the $800 nightly rate, but his heart couldn't handle going home. Jessica's messages became increasingly frequent, each one more urgent than the last. "Ryan really wants to meet you. We can make this work. There's so much you don't understand about what we have." He focused on work, buried himself in code reviews and API documentation. Sarah brought him coffee every morning, never pushing, just being there. Her presence became the only constant in his rapidly shifting world. One evening, as he was reviewing a critical DEP deployment, his phone lit up with an unknown number. "Kevin, this is Ryan. We should talk." His hands trembled as he read the message. Another quickly followed. "I'm not your enemy. Let me explain everything." Kevin's finger hovered over the block button. Instead, he found himself typing, "When and where?" The response came immediately. "Anton's. 8 p.m. tonight. Private room and back." Anton's was a members-only club in San Francisco, where deals worth billions were made over $500 stakes. Kevin knew the place. He'd celebrated his last promotion there. "I'll be there," he replied, already regretting it. Sarah caught him as he was leaving the office. "You okay? You look stressed." "Meeting Ryan tonight." Her eyes widened with concern. "Want me to come with you?" "No, but Can I call you after? She squeezed his arm gently. Anytime. The drive to San Francisco gave him too much time to think. The Tesla's autopilot handled the traffic while his mind raced through scenarios. Ryan was waiting in the private room, exactly as Kevin had imagined him. Tall, distinguished, probably mid-40s, with the confident air of old money mixed with new tech wealth. Kevin, thank you for coming. Ryan stood, extending his hand. Kevin ignored it, sat down across from him. Let's skip the pleasantries. What do you want? Ryan smiled, seemingly unfazed. Direct. I like that. Jessica said you were no nonsense. Jessica says a lot of things lately. She's an extraordinary woman. She's my wife. Ryan leaned back, studying Kevin. Is she? Really? When was the last time you truly connected with her? Kevin's jaw tightened. I'm not here for marriage counseling. No, you're here because you want to understand. A waiter appeared with 2 glasses of wine. Ryan had ordered already. Of course he had. Understand what? How you seduced my wife. I didn't seduce anyone. Jessica came to me. The words hit Kevin like a physical blow. What? She was curious, adventurous, unfulfilled. We were happy. Ryan took a sip of wine. Were you? Or were you just comfortable? You don't know anything about us. I know Jessica needs more than vanilla corporate success and a nice house in Palo Alto. Kevin's hand clenched around his wine glass. And you provide that. I provide opportunity, experience, freedom. You record her. Ryan's smile widened slightly. She told you about that. Why? Protection, proof of consent, and entertainment. Kevin felt sick. You're blackmailing her. Ryan actually laughed. Blackmail? Please. Everyone involved consents. Signs NDAs. It's all very Silicon Valley. This isn't a startup deal, isn't it? Disrupting traditional relationships, scaling intimacy, breaking old paradigms. You sound like a pitch deck. Because I understand the world we live in. Do you? The waiter returned with obscenely expensive steaks. Kevin hadn't ordered, but apparently that didn't matter. What do you want from me? He finally asked. To join us. To understand what Jessica's discovered. And if I refuse? Ryan cut into his steak with surgical precision. Then you'll lose her. She's evolved beyond traditional monogamy. You mean you've corrupted her? I've liberated her. And I can do the same for you. Kevin stood abruptly. This was a mistake. There's more you should know. I know enough. Do you? Ask Jessica about Mark. And John. Kevin froze. Who? Her other partners. Did she mention them? The room seemed to spin. You're lying. Ryan pulled out his phone, tapped a few times. Kevin's phone buzzed. A video file. See for yourself. Without another word, Kevin walked out. He made it to his car before throwing up in the parking lot. His phone kept buzzing, messages from Ryan. More videos. More proof. He called Sarah. Can you meet me? Of course. Where are you? San Francisco. I need a friend. Text me the address. I'm on my way. He sat in his car, autopilot disabled, just sitting in the dark. Sarah arrived 30 minutes later, knocking gently on his window. He let her in, told her everything. About Ryan, about Mark and John, about the videos. She listened, her face a mixture of horror and compassion. What are you going to do? I don't know. I don't even know who she is anymore. Sarah took his hand. You don't have to decide anything tonight. I can't go home. Come stay at my place. Guest rooms always made up. He looked at her, really looked at her. Saw the concern, the care, the understanding. Thank you. Her apartment was in Mountain View, a modest 2-bedroom compared to his Palo Alto mansion. But it felt more like home than his house had in months. They stayed up late, talking. Sarah made tea, listened as he processed everything. When he finally went to bed, he slept for the first time in days. Morning brought more messages from Jessica. Ryan told me about dinner. Please let me explain about Mark and John. It's not what you think. He blocked her number. Blocked Ryan's too. Sarah had coffee ready when he emerged. What's the plan for today? Work. I need normal right now. She nodded. I'll drive. The office was a welcome distraction. Code didn't lie. Code didn't cheat. Code didn't make videos with multiple partners. But around lunch, his peace was shattered. Jessica was in the Facebook lobby. Security called up. She was making a scene. Kevin's hands shook as he rode the elevator down. She looked terrible. Designer clothes wrinkled, makeup smeared. You blocked my number, she accused. You lied about everything. I was going to tell you about Mark and John. When? After how many videos? She grabbed his arm. Please, just listen. No, you listen. We're done. I want a divorce. The words echoed in the lobby. Heads turned. Jessica's face crumbled. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. What about our life? Our plans? You destroyed those when you started sleeping with half of Silicon Valley. She slapped him. The so. ND echoed off the glass walls. Security moved forward. Ma'am, you need to leave. Jessica stared at Kevin, mascara running. This isn't over. Yes, it is. He watched as security escorted her out. Sarah found him in the stairwell an hour later. Word spreading about the lobby scene. Great. More drama. Want to get out of here? He looked up at her. And go where? Anywhere. Away from all this. For the first time in weeks, Kevin smiled. That sounds perfect. They drove down the coast, no destination in mind. The ocean stretched endlessly to their left. Silicon Valley and all its complications faded behind them. They ended up in Half Moon Bay, at a tiny seafood place on the pier. No reservations required. No venture capitalists in sight. Just fresh fish and cold beer. Sarah made him laugh with stories about her disaster dates with startup founders. The sun set over the Pacific. For a moment, everything felt possible. Then his phone buzzed, an email from Ryan. Check TechCrunch. His stomach dropped as he opened the site. The headline made his blood run cold. Silicon Valley power couples, open marriage scandal rocks tech world. Sarah read over his shoulder, gasped. Oh my God. The article was everywhere within hours. His phone exploded with messages. HR wanted to meet. His team leads were concerned. His parents called. The life he'd built was unraveling in real time. Sarah drove them back to her place. He couldn't face his house. Couldn't face the memories. Couldn't face what his life had become. She made up the guest room again. Brought him more tea. Sat with him as he watched his reputation implode online. I'm here, she said simply. And she was. That meant more than anything else. The next morning, he had an email from Mark. Then one from John. Everyone wanted to tell their side. Everyone had videos. Everyone had proof. Kevin deleted them all unread. Called a lawyer instead. Started the divorce process. Sarah helped him find a new apartment. Something temporary. Something away from Palo Alto. Away from the memories. Away from the life he thought he had. His Tesla sat in the Facebook parking lot. Too many memories of Jessica. He bought a used Subaru instead. Practical. Normal. Everything his life wasn't anymore. The tech blogs couldn't get enough of the story. Silicon Valley's dark underbelly exposed. Kevin stopped reading the news. Stopped checking social media. Focused on work. On healing. On the quiet moments with Sarah. The way she always knew when he needed space. Or when he needed company. Or when he needed to drive to Half Moon Bay and scream at the ocean. She never pushed. Never demanded. Just supported. Just cared. Just was there. And slowly, day by day, that was enough. The divorce proceedings dragged on for months. Jessica fought every step, claiming half of Kevin's Facebook stock options. Her lawyers argued she'd supported his career, deserved the wealth they'd built. Kevin let his lawyers handle it, stopped eating the emails. Sarah suggested he transfer to the Seattle office. A fresh start, she said over coffee one morning. Away from all this. The idea took root in his mind. Seattle was different, quieter, less obsessed with disrupting everything, including marriages. His manager supported the transfer immediately. Take some time, clear your head. The team there could use someone with your experience. Kevin packed up his desk on a Friday afternoon. Sarah helped, carefully wrapping his few personal items. When do you leave? She asked, trying to sound casual. Next week. Already found a place in Capitol Hill. She nodded, not meeting his eyes. Seattle's beautiful. You'll love it. Come with me. The word surprised them both. Sarah froze, a framed photo in her hands. What? Transfer with me. Facebook's always looking for good engineers in Seattle. Kevin, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy, but nothing about my life makes sense anymore anyway. She set down the photo carefully. Are you sure? The only thing I'm sure about is how I feel when I'm with you. Sarah smiled, tears in her eyes. Let me think about it. Of course. That night, his lawyer called. There's been a development. Kevin sat in his temporary apartment, bracing himself. What now? John's dead. The words didn't register at first. What? Found in his bathroom. Hit his head, apparently. Kevin felt the room spin. How? Police are investigating. But there's more. There was always more. They found videos. Lots of them. Jessica's videos, among others. Seems Ryan was running quite an operation. Kevin closed his eyes. What kind of operation? Filming tech executives in compromising positions. For leverage. Blackmail. Essentially, several prominent VCs were involved. The pieces started falling into place. And Jessica was helping him, recruiting targets. Kevin felt sick. She knew. She was his partner in everything. The police want to talk to you. The investigation moved quickly. Silicon Valley money wanted this buried. Ryan was arrested at his Woodside estate. Jessica turned state's evidence against him. Mark cooperated too, desperate to save his reputation. The videos were sealed by court order. Kevin answered the detective's questions, proved he knew nothing about the blackmail scheme. Sarah sat with him through every interview, held his hand during the hard parts. The tech blogs had a field day. Silicon Valley's Harvey Weinstein. Tech's dark sex scandal. The real disruption. Inside the Valley's biggest scandal. Kevin ignored them all. Focused on Seattle. On the future. On Sarah. She submitted her transfer request 2 days after the arrests. You sure about this? He asked. About leaving Silicon Valley? Absolutely. About us. She kissed him in answer. Their first kiss. Soft. Gentle. Real. Everything his life with Jessica hadn't been. The Seattle transfer was approved quickly. Facebook HR wanted them both away from the scandal. They found apartments in the same building. Different floors. Taking it slow. Doing it right. Kevin's divorce finalized the day before they left. Jessica kept the Palo Alto house. He kept his stock options. Clean break. The drive to Seattle took 2 days. They stayed overnight in Portland. Walked through Powell's books. Ate at food trucks. Normal things. Human things. Sarah's hand found his as they crossed the Fremont Bridge into Seattle. The Space Needle appeared through the mist. A new skyline. A new start. Their apartments were small by Silicon Valley standards. No smart home systems. No voice-activated everything. Just space to breathe. To heal. To grow. The Seattle office was different too. More relaxed. Less obsessed with status. No one knew about the scandal. Or if they did, they didn't care. Kevin and Sarah had dinner together most nights. Explored the city on weekends. Hiked in the mountains. Watched the ferries cross Puget Sound. Built something real. Something true. 6 months after leaving California, Kevin got an email from Jessica. Ryan had been sentenced. 10 years for extortion and fraud. Jessica got probation for her cooperation. She was leaving tech, moving to Colorado, starting over. Kevin felt nothing reading the news. No anger, no pain, just acceptance. That night, he and Sarah walked to Cary Park. The city lights sparkled below them. Any regrets? She asked. About leaving? About any of it. He thought about the scandal, the betrayal, the pain, then looked at Sarah, at her gentle smile, her quiet strength. No, he said. Everything led me here. She leaned into him. The Seattle wind carried the smell of rain and possibility. I love you, he said for the first time. I love you too. Simple words. True words. No videos needed. No complications. Just two people, building something real. A year after leaving Silicon Valley, Kevin sold his Facebook stock, started his own company in Seattle. Something small, something ethical. Sarah joined as co-founder. They worked from a converted warehouse in Pioneer Square. No ping pong tables. No cold brew on tap. Just honest work. Real purpose. Their relationship grew stronger each day. Built on trust, on understanding, on the quiet moments between the chaos. They got married at the Volunteer Park Conservatory. Small ceremony. Close friends. No tech celebrities. No media coverage. Just love. Pure and simple. Sometimes Kevin thought about his old life. The mansion in Palo Alto. The Tesla. The stock options. The perfectly curated image of success. It all seemed hollow now. Empty. Here in Seattle, he had found something better. Something real. The rain fell softly outside their Capitol Hill apartment. Sarah worked on code at the dining table. Kevin made dinner. Normal moments. Perfect moments. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister. Jessica was in the news again. Something about a wellness startup in Boulder. Kevin didn't read the article. Didn't need to. That life was over. This one was just beginning. Sarah looked up from her laptop, smiled at him. That same gentle smile that had saved him, grounded him, brought him home. What are you thinking about? She asked. How lucky I am, even with all that happened. Because of all that happened, she stood, wrapped her arms around him. Outside, Seattle continued its gentle rain. Inside, they had everything they needed. Each other. Truth. Love. No videos required. No NDAs. No complications. Just two people, building a life. The right way. The real way. The only way that mattered.